All right, so for today, we're working on converting units of time. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in right now. Converting units of time. And this one is just basically a review because you've all learned to convert time before, so it shouldn't be anything too crazy. We know that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. We know that 60 seconds
Minutes.
is equal to 1 hour. We know 24 hours is equal to 1 day. We know that 7 days is equal to 1 week. And we know 52 weeks is going to be 1 year. We know that I got 365 days, and your standard year is equal to one standard year. We know that 10 years is equal to 1 decade. And we know 100 years is equal to 1 century. And we are not interested in those two. Those two are not you do not need to know these two, but it's just something you can have information about. Um, So the same we convert the exact same way as we did yesterday. Let's say that you're given 7 minutes and they want you to convert this into seconds, and we're gonna go ahead and put question mark seconds. We can look at our chart over here and say which of these is a minutes to seconds conversion, and I see that the base conversion is going to be 1 minute equals 60 seconds. So I can go ahead and look at 1 minute equals 60 seconds, and that's our base conversion. So we think to ourselves, how do we define a relationship between minutes and seconds? How do you go from minutes to seconds? Well, it's 1 minute equals 60 seconds. So in order for me to turn that 1 into a 60, I know it's going to be times 60. We defined our minute to seconds relationship, and we see up here we're still using a minutes to seconds relationship. So if we're going from a 7 to some seconds, we know that we have to multiply it by 60, and that's going to be 420 seconds. And that's the same thing that you did yesterday. And it's going to be like that for all of converting time. Now, the only other part that we have to talk about today is converting it into like hours. So let's say I said there's 188 minutes and they want you to convert that to some type of hours. Well, we can write this out as math. So we know that 188 minutes looks like this. And if we want to convert that to hours, we're actually going to do this in the adding and subtracting form where you have to regroup things and then move them over. So we have 188 minutes and 0 hours at this point because we're just calling it minutes. And they want you to change this into a standard form. Well, I can regroup 60 out of this, and that's going to leave me with 128 minutes. And then all of a sudden, once I regroup, I add 1 to my hours. So now I have 1 hour and 128 minutes. And I can keep regrouping this because I see that this side's more than 60. And that's going to become 68 minutes. Add another hour because I regrouped that. And now I'm at 2 hours and 68 minutes. And I can do it again. And it's become 8 minutes. And this side will add 1 more hour. So now we're at 3 hours and 8 minutes. So we know that 188 minutes is equal to 3 hours, 8 minutes. We can take the same idea and add two quantities of time together. Let's say you're given 2 hours and 45 minutes plus 3 hours and 12 minutes. We can change this into a just numbers format and write 2 colon 45 plus 3 colon 12. This is 2 hours and 45 minutes, 3 hours and 12 minutes. We can add our minutes first and get 5 plus 2 is 7, 4 plus 1 is 5, bring down your colon, 2 plus 3 is 5. So 2 hours and 45 minutes plus 3 hours and 12 minutes is simply 5 hours and 57 minutes. And if you just added it up, if you think about it to yourself, well, 45 minutes plus 12 minutes is really 57 minutes. You're right. We were right. And then 2 hours plus 3 hours is really just 5 hours. Now, the only time that this may get tricky is if we have an example like this. Let's say we have 3 hours and 47 minutes plus 2 hours and 53 minutes. And we'll notice something that's going to happen. We have 7 plus 3 is 10. Regroup. 5 plus 4 is 9. Plus 1 more is 10. And then normally your gut would say move 1 over. It's not. We're going to keep all our minutes together. So 47 plus 53, we're actually going to just leave that as 100 minutes. And we're going to have 5 hours right here. So we have 5 hours and 100 minutes, but we don't keep track of time in terms of 100 minutes. So what we're going to have to do is regroup 60 minutes out of that, and that's going to give us 40 minutes left, and we're going to add our 1 hour over here. So 3 hours and 47 minutes plus 2 hours and 53 minutes is going to equal 6 hours and 40 minutes. Now, what happens if you decide to add traditionally? So let's take a look. If we just kept regrouping the normal looking way, this is what happens. 7 plus 3 is 10. 5 plus 4 is 9 plus 1 more is 10. And then we have 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. And we just learned that it's 6 hours and 40 minutes. So this 6 hours is definitely wrong. So you have to be careful when you're adding time. You can't just regroup because you're not making the correct group if you do that. We want groups of 60, not groups of 100. Let's try one more example. Let's say we have 3 hours and 22 minutes. Take away 1 hour and 47 minutes. Right off the bat, we already noticed that we can't actually do 2 minus 7, nor can we do 2 minus 4. So what we're going to do is regroup. We're going to borrow. We're going to borrow an hour. So we take 1 hour away from the 3, and instead of adding a 10 or a 100, we're going to add 60 to this 22 because we took an hour away from the 3 hours. We're going to convert that to minutes, and that's going to make this become 82 because we added 60 to it. Now we can subtract as normal. 2 minus 7, we can't do it, so we borrow. 12 minus 7 is going to be 5. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then we have our hours. 2 hours take away 1 hour is 1 hour and 35 minutes.